Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're putting the rear axle on the Tamiya 1850L. This of course is the drive axle, so we've got the differential and all the bits to assemble before hanging the axle on the chassis. In bag C then we've got a nice range of bits to play with. There's some familiar leaf springs, exactly the same ones as on the front. There's the damper mounts, an interesting packet with a pinion in. Now it looks like this truck being one of the older 1/14th kits, it's been updated to match the new kits. As usual then, we're going to pour the small parts bags into some plastic pots. There's a few bushings in this lot, so we will of course be replacing them with some proper bearings as we go. For step 13 we're going to need the internal diff gears, which I'll add to the diff case halves I've already put out. We'll also need the two large skinny washers and three M2x5 cap head screws. Inside the diff we're going to be filling it up with some grease. Now Tamiya want us to use the ceramic grease from the kit, which after a bit of running usually ends up with a very free running differential. But I'm going to try using some of this blue lithium instead. It's a lot thicker and stickier, so it should add a little bit of stiffness. The usual problem is, with a really free differential, if you're driving over uneven ground and one of the drive wheels gets a bit light, when you try and drive forward, all that happens is one of the wheels spins and you don't go anywhere. Now some people lock the diffs completely solid, which gets around the problem entirely, but it does increase the turning circle, so a good thick grease should be the best of both worlds. A quick note from the future though, the blue lithium I use does make the diff slightly stiffer, but not by much. The theory's sound though, and I've heard that Lucas red and tacky grease works even better. Right, back to the build. Now we're going to start with one of the large internal gears and smear on some grease on the inside face. Pop one of the big washers over the top and apply some extra grease. The idea behind the washer is to avoid the soft cast metal from wearing on itself. Having the smooth steel between makes everything last quite a lot longer. The gear now just drops into one side or the other of the diff housing. I tend to start with the side with the gear moulded into it. Next we've got the star shaft and the little gears. Now each one needs a little bit of grease applying to the shaft before sliding on one of the gears. Don't worry about using too much, it's all going to get squeezed and spread around inside the diff anyway. Just watch out for getting any on your fingers. This blue stuff can be a bit stubborn to wash off. Before dropping the star shaft into the case, we'll put a load of grease all over the gear in the diff. Again, we're going to use plenty. Pop the star shaft in, lining up the ends of the shaft with the notches around the diff case. Press it all the way down so it's all the way in, and apply some more grease to fill the gaps. There's the other of the big gears to get ready with some grease and a washer, and with it all greased up we can pop it into the other half of the diff case. Now before we screw the two halves together we're going to apply a little bit of thread lock to the threaded holes. It's good to do because if one of those small screws comes loose it can wreak all kinds of havoc inside the axle. If one falls out and gets trapped between the gears, it really won't do the parts any good at all. Install the three screws, doing them up a little bit at a time until they're all nicely nipped up. Step 14, the axle shafts. This time we're going to need 4 1150 bearings, 4 4mm E-clips, and the 2 axle shafts. The diagram for these bits really isn't the clearest, but at first glance it makes it look more complicated than it really is. All we need to do is clip an E-clip in one of the slots at one end or the other of one of the axle shafts, doesn't matter which. Then we can pop 2 of the bearings on and clip an E-clip in at the other end. Same for the other shaft, and we've got the 2 shafts ready to go. Now one shaft has a pin on the end that goes into the hole in the end of the other shaft. The pin's going to spin in the hole when the diff's working, so we're going to use a little bit of grease on the end before we assemble it. In the gear side of the differential we can fit the shorter shaft, then on the other side we can fit the long shaft. Now at this stage if you try and turn the shafts in opposite directions it's probably going to feel very notchy and quite possibly you won't be able to turn it all that much at all. Don't worry though, as long as you've assembled it correctly it's going to smooth itself out after a few minutes of driving around. It just takes some use to get everything to settle into position. Step 15, the axle housing. First up we need 2 more 1150 bearings, the drive cup with its short M3 grub screw, there's also the input shaft with the gear from the extra bag, which also comes with 2 more grub screws that are slightly longer than the one from bag C. Now it makes sense to use the longer ones, as we're going to be able to nip it up a little bit tighter without worrying about stripping the thread. So we don't end up losing the new grub screw, we're going to pop it onto the end of an Allen key, and we're going to put the extra long one and short one in the unused bits pot off to the right of the camera. Along with those bits, we also need 8 M3 plain nuts, 8 M3x15s, and a single 4mm E-clip. For the plastics, we just need an A1 and an A2, which are the axle housings. Right, first job to get out of the way is to fit the input shaft. It uses the 2 bearings that we need to fit to the axle housing. The easy way to do it and get them in straight is to pop one on the end of the shaft and press it into the outside hole. It shouldn't need too much force, but we do need to make sure it's nicely seated all the way in. Then we pop the shaft out, add another bearing and reinsert it from the inside. Now the manual wants us to use some grease, but we're using bearings so we don't really need to. With the shaft in, we can use an E-clip on the outside in the slot. Now usually with these Tamiya kits everything fits quite nicely, but sometimes it might be necessary to use a thin shim on one side or the other to adjust the mesh. I've never needed to, but I have come across a few people's builds where it was necessary. Next we can fit the diff and the axle shafts in the housing with the input shaft. We need to make sure that the bearings are pushed all the way to the ends of the shafts so they're up against the E-clips. In the axle housing there's some little cups moulded in that keep the bearings in position. Before we fit the other half of the axle housing we need to run some grease around. I'm going to use some of the Tamiya grease here as it's quite a bit thinner than the blue stuff, so it's going to drag a bit less when running. Although, because these trucks usually run very slowly, it doesn't really matter too much what you use as long as it's nice and slippery. If we spin the diff a few times we can see the grease getting spread around nicely. As long as you end up with some grease over pretty much all the teeth, it's going to do the job. To attach the 2 halves we use the M3 screws and nuts. On one side there's 8 hex-shaped holes for the nuts, and on the other we put the screws in. It's not a bad idea to use a little bit of thread lock on these, but you can get away without as long as you keep an eye on them. If a couple come loose, it's not the end of the world. Or of course you could always replace all the nuts with some nylocks, which will lock them without the mess. There's one more bit to do now. We need to add some thread lock to the grub screw and install it a couple of turns into the drive cup. Pop it onto the input shaft, lining up the grub with the flat. Then while gently pressing it on, we can nip up the grub screw. Right, we should be able to turn the drive cup and see the ends of the axle turn. It's probably going to feel a bit notchy, but I wouldn't worry too much. It'll soon smooth itself out. Step 16, fitting the leaf springs. For this one we need the bottom damper mounts, the 4 shackle plates, 2 shoulder screws, 4 M3x27s, 4 M3 plain nuts, and 2 M3 nylocks. For plastic bits we need 2 C10s and 2 C18s, the bits that sandwich the leaf springs, and of course we need the leaf springs themselves. First we need to make sure that we've got the axle the same way round as it is in the diagram. The input shaft should be facing away from us, and the tapered bit on the axle housing for the differential to the left. Then we just offer up one of the damper mounts to the bottom of the axle, so the mount is towards the inside, and we pop in 2 of the long screws. Next, while holding the screws in, we need to fit a C10 over the threads, followed by a leaf pack, and then one of the C18s, making sure that the side with the hex holes is facing upwards. To hold it all together, we just need to install a couple of M3 plain nuts. Now these are good candidates for a bit of thread lock. We just need a little bit on the exposed threads, then we would undo the screw a few turns and retighten it. Alternatively, there's plenty of exposed thread, so a pair of nylocks would work pretty well too. Repeat on the other side, and that's the leaf springs mounted. It's worth mentioning that the long screws are going to be loosened again, so we can set the position of the springs when we hang the axle on the chassis, so don't worry about doing them up super tight just yet. That leaves the shackles. All we need to do is pop one of the plates over the shoulder screw, insert it into the end of the spring, pop on another plate, followed by a nylock nut. The only thing to watch out for is that you install them on the right end. They should go to the rear of the assembly, so that's the side without the input shaft. Also note, I installed the nuts on the inside, which worked okay on the Hercules Actros, but as we'll find out in a moment, you really do need the nuts on the outside on this chassis. Install both shackles, and we've got the axle ready to install. Okay, step 17, hanging the axle. We're going to need 4 M3x20s, 4 leaf collars, 4 4mm washers, and 2 M3 nylocks. And then for plastics, we've got 2 F1 spacers. Okay, to mount the axle, we need to pop one of the leaf collars into the hole in the inner shackle plate. Slide on a spacer, then pop the other shackle plate over the end. It gets offered up to the hole on the chassis extension, and we use one of the nylocks on the inside where there's a hex-shaped hole to hold it. And we use one of the long screws from the outside. The collar is sized so we can tighten the screw all the way and not worry about any binding. However, because we fitted the nut to the inside of the shackle, it does rub quite badly, causing a bit of a bind. It's a shame because it does look a bit tidier with the screw heads visible, but it's just not going to work. Still, it's easy enough to swap them over. We just remove the shackle from the chassis, then swap the shoulder screws around. It really doesn't take long, so no great loss. Anyway, we can refit the collar, spacer and axle to the chassis extension, and this time it moves nice and freely. Install the other collar and shackle to the other side, and we can start working on the front leaf mounts. We need to use another leaf collar, this time inserted straight into the end of the leaf spring. There's no spacer, but we do use one of the washers on the end. To attach it, we use one of the long screws that screws into a captured nylock we installed right at the beginning of the build in one of the cross members. Again, the length of the collar means we can go straight in and tighten up the screws. Repeat on the other side, and that's the axle hung on the chassis. Don't forget to loosen the 4 screws that attach the axle to the leaf springs and retighten them. Just like with the front axle, it'll let the springs find their own position so they move nicely without binding. Step 18, fitting the dampers. We'll need the 4 damper collars, 2 M3x20s, 2 M3 flange nuts, 2 M3x12s, and the dampers. The top of the dampers attached to the cross members that we installed the press nuts into right at the beginning of the build. We just pop one of the damper collars in the top of the damper and install it with one of the long screws. Now it's important not to press too hard until you take up the slack, or you're just going to press the press nut out the back. Once it's nipped up, it's evident that we've got the same little niggle that we found on the Hercules Actros. With the bottom of the damper up against the mount, it's leaning back at quite an angle. When the suspension compresses, it's only going to get worse, causing a bit of a minor bind. It'll work okay, but it's such a simple fix we might as well make it work properly. All we need to do is add an extra plain nut behind the damper collar. You could use a stack of washers too, anything really that will space it off 2 or 3 millimeters. Now when we fit the damper, the bottom lines up with the bottom mount with some angle to spare. Now when the axle moves back, when the suspension compresses, it's not going to bind. The bottom just needs another damper collar, one of the shorter screws, and a nut. When it's all nipped up, the suspension should move perfectly smoothly with a little bit of slop. If it's tight or stiff, you've got something that's unhappy. Generally, if you loosen all the screws and retighten them, it'll sort itself out. With the other damper installed, we've got the rear axle hung and ready to go. So that's it for this week and bag C. Next time on the 1850L we're going to be on to bag D and the gearbox, the bit that a lot of people seem to dread. As always then, thanks for watching, like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a message if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!